ahead to the 4th chapter of First Flight, and that's from the diary of Anne Frank by Anne Frank. Now, I'm sure you are well versed with this name, Anne Frank. She is, the German-Dutch diarist. Diarist as in a person who writes diary. Yes. Now, imagine what she wrote, like whatever she went through from 1942 to 1944 during the World War II. She actually, penned it down in the diary, and till day, imagine it's 2020 and we are still talking about her diary. So there are certain things at certain times, when they really click, and you have so many movies and films like based on this. Yeah, so this became really, really very famous, and even we are going to go through again a part of it to see what all had she written for all the conditions and all the plight that she had gone through. Yes, so let's see ahead, and more than that, before that, I would like to know how many of you are diarist. Diarist as in how many of you maintain a diary. Well, these days it is the notes, you maintain notes in your phones, but writing a diary, maintaining a diary is definitely way different and way more pleasurable. Now, see, how much can you actually trust technology? Today your phone gets formatted, it gets robbed or anything of the sort. Yeah. Still, the pleasure lies in the roots. So if you pick up a diary and a pen, start maintaining your, not necessary, you may land up writing it every day. But yes, the most important events that you go through, maybe sadness, maybe happiness, maybe anger, maybe excitement, you pour it out in your diary and you maintain the diary. It's way different. Try it, definitely. Yes, so let's go further. From the diary of Anne Frank, let's see what all we get from her diary. But before that, let's know a little more about her. She was a German Jew. The 12-year-old Jewish girl wrote the diary of Anne Frank while in hiding with her family and 4 friends in Amsterdam during the Nazis' occupation of the Netherlands in World War II. So while they were occupied in the sense, they were locked up there, they were sort of imprisoned. Yeah, they were into hiding because it was as good as prison only. The way they were hiding, they couldn't even move out. So it was as good as that. But yeah, they were into hiding. Yeah. After 2 years in hiding, the group was betrayed and transported to a concentration camp in Bergen, where Anne and her elder sister, Margot, died of typhus in 1945. She didn't live long. You see, 29 to 45, she merely lived 16 years. Yeah. So at the age of 16, she passed away. Why? Because she died of typhus. In fact, even her sister, both of them. Yeah. Now, they were moved to a concentration camp. Concentration camp is, like a small place, a very sort of a prison where all the atrocities, what do I mean by atrocities? Where all the harsh deeds are done on you. You are ill-treated so badly over there. There are not much facilities around you to even help you survive. That's a concentration camp. You hardly get any food to eat. The place is not proper enough, good enough to even survive, to live over there. So they were sent to that concentration camp, and basically, the Nazis were very bad. They had come up with nearly 100 such camps. So you can imagine the people living there, the Jews, my God, they had the most terrible time of their life. Many of them gave up their lives there because they could not take the torture. That place is terrible. Yeah. So these guys used to do it on purpose. They had literally come up with nearly 100 camps out there then. So yeah, her father, Otto, the only survivor of the group, found her diary and got it published in English under the name The Diary of a Young Girl. He did not put her name. He says The Diary of a Young Girl. The father was the only person who survived. The rest all passed away, even the mother. And he published it with the name The Diary of a Young Girl. So let's look at the plot of your chapter. Anne Frank was a young Jewish girl. She lived with her parents in Germany. But Hitler's Nazi party was killing the Jews or forcing them to work in the concentration camps. The Frank family fled. They literally, they escaped from Germany in 1933 and took shelter in the Netherlands. But in 1940, Germany attacked the Netherlands and captured it. That was the time, during the World War II. So 1940, Germany attacked Netherlands and captured. Now, the Nazis started arresting the Jews and sending them to the concentration camps, to hell. Now, actually the concentration camp, if you talk of a synonym for it, it's hell. The Frank family, all of them, went into hiding. They somehow escaped from there and they went into hiding. They lived secretly in the upper floors of their business premises. They went and secretly hid in one place there, on top, on the upper floor of the business premises. They hid there for 25 months. Do you understand? 25 months is 2 years, 1 month. They were into hiding. Now, who will not fall sick and die in such a situation? For 2 years, you're into hiding. I mean, I just compare this to the pandemic that we are currently going through, and we had to stay home just for a few months. We had all literally become mad, because we couldn't move out and get to our routine life. You can imagine their situation. I can imagine it now because we went through those months. We can understand what it is. Obviously, we were living in our luxury. We were not into hiding or stuff. But imagine the pressure on them. They were hiding and they couldn't even move out for 25 long months. Anne had started writing her diary. Now, when you are sitting idle, when you have nothing to do, so she was the one, she took a pen and a diary. Before going into hiding, she started writing her diary. In August 1944, the Germans came to know of their hiding. Oh God, they were there, but somehow the Germans discovered that these people are hiding there. They were arrested and sent to Germany. Let's see in detail a little more about the content of the diary. Writing in a diary is a really strange experience for someone like me. Who is the me? Anne Frank. Not only because I've never written anything before, but also because it seems to me that later on, neither I nor anyone else will be interested in the musings of a 13-year-old schoolgirl. She says writing this diary is sort of strange experience. And why does she call it a strange experience? She says maybe, a few years from now, neither I nor will anyone else want to go through, what I have thought about. Now, what I put in the diary are my thoughts. What I have thought about, my thoughts, my views. So why would anyone else want to go through my reflection? What have I seen? What have I experienced? Why would anyone want to go through that? And that too of a 13-year-old schoolgirl? I mean, what can you get out of it? So that's why she found this, a very strange experience. The musings, the reflections, the thoughts of a 13-year-old schoolgirl. Oh well, it doesn't matter. I feel like writing and I have an even greater need to get all kinds of things off my chest. Now she says, okay, fine, I don't care. It's okay. It really doesn't even matter. I'm fine with it. But there's one more reason I want to write this diary is all that I have buried, inside me, all the pain that is there, I want to pour it out. I want to get, all the kinds of things off my chest, as in whatever I have, whatever is in my heart and mind, I want to pour it out. I want to share it with somebody. And so I am sharing it with the diary. Actually, a diary is your bestest friend. We all have a best friend, but your diary is your bestest friend. You can pour out anything, anytime, whatever, and it is there to take it all from you. Because see, whenever you share your happiness, it doubles. And we do that with everybody. We share our happiness. But when it comes to pain, when it comes to sorrow, do you readily share it with everybody? Not really. We always think twice, should I, shouldn't I? We hesitate. But if you pour the same in your diary, if you pour it out, it's like poison inside. It really keeps bothering you. There are certain things that hurt you. There are certain things maybe you cannot share it with your parents, your mom, your siblings, or even your friends. That is the time your diary is always there for you. ready to welcome you with open arms. That is the time you can pour out all the pain and sorrow. So this is what she did. She wanted to get things off her chest, as in she wanted to pour it all out. All the poison she wanted to remove. Paper has more patience than people. I just told you. The diary, it can take in anything, anytime, and whatever you want. It has more patience than people. People will tell you, oh, shut up, forget it. It's okay, yaar, it happened, na. Just forget it. Keep moving on. Don't get stuck to it. Don't think of it. People don't have the patience. The diary has all the patience to listen to you, to take whatever poison is there in your heart. You vomit it out into your diary. I thought of this saying on one of those days when I was feeling a little depressed and was sitting at home with my chin in my hands, bored and listless. Listless as in with no energy or interest. I was totally blank, wondering whether to stay in or go out. Now, she got this line when she was sitting there at home. She was a little depressed. She had no energy. She didn't feel like doing anything. And that is the time when she was thinking, whether should I go out or not. And that was the time this line came to her. I finally stayed where I was. I didn't go out, brooding. Brooding as in engaged in deep thought about something that makes someone sad, anxious, or depressed. She was lost in thoughts, but those thoughts were actually just, giving her all the pain, all the misery. They were making her anxious. They were depressing her. Actually, they were depressing thoughts. Yes, paper does have more patience. And since I'm not planning to let anyone else read this stiff-backed notebook, grandly referred to as a diary, unless I should ever find a real friend, it probably won't make a bit of difference. Says, see, whatever it is, I'll finally get onto my diary because I know the paper has more patience. And this stiff-backed notebook, what do you mean a stiff? A diary has the last pages, they are stiff. Yeah. So a stiff-backed notebook, which people refer to as a diary. Yeah. She says, unless I don't find a real friend, but then it won't make a bit of a difference. It'll all be the same. So I consider this diary as my best friend till I actually find a real friend. Now, I'm back to the point that prompted me to keep a diary in the first place. Prompted as in it brought about a certain action or a feeling. It actually, made me do it. To keep a diary, what was that? I don't have a friend. Now, this was another one of the reasons that she started writing a diary. Remember, before this, she told us that she wanted to, pour her things out. She wanted to get it off her chest. And so she wrote the diary. She's still coming back to the point that I don't have a friend. And so she maintained a diary. Let me put it more clearly. Since no one will believe that a 13-year-old girl is completely alone in the world. She says, let me explain this to you. If I'm saying I don't have a friend, now imagine a 13-year-old, right? Now, if I talk about you, you guys are 15. You have n number of friends. You have friends in dozens. Yes? Now, if I talk of Facebook friends and, you have all the different groups and so many of them. Now, imagine she being 13-year-old, she did not have a single friend. And who is completely alone in the world? And I'm not. She says, no, but I'm not. I have loving parents and a 16-year-old sister, and there are about 30 people I can call friends. She says, actually, I am not alone. I do have my loving parents, my 16-year-old sister, and about 30 people whom I can call friends. I have a family, loving aunts, and a good home. Yes, I do have all of them. No, on the surface, I seem to have everything. Actually, materialistically, if you look at me from outside, I have everything but my one true friend. I have everyone. I have aunts, I have sister, I have parents, I have a loving home. Everything is fine. But I don't have one true friend except my one true friend. We all have one. We all have such a companion whom we can confide into. Confide as in you share your secrets, Yes, you make sure that that person is strong enough not to share it with somebody, not to leak it out to somebody. So we confide in them. We give out our secrets to them. We all have secrets, don't we? I'm sure you have dozens of them. So this is the age, right? These things do happen. So you always want want someone whom you can trust, whom you can actually share your secrets, which you will never share it with anyone else. So she did not have that true friend. All I think about when I'm with friends is having a good time. Now, when you're with friends, you have a good time. I can't bring myself to talk about anything but ordinary everyday things. She says these friends which I have, the common friends, they're okay. You have a good time with them. You can actually just talk about the ordinary, whatever happens every day in our life, the ordinary things, that is all we discuss. We don't seem to be able to get any closer. Beyond that, like, okay, this happened, that happened, this very ordinary things we speak, but we don't get any closer than that. Something that's in our heart we cannot share. And that's the problem. Maybe it's my fault that we don't confide in each other. Confide, I already told you, to tell personal things privately to a person that one trusts. You want to share your secrets, only with that one person. So she says, maybe it's my fault that we don't do that. We don't share our secrets, we don't put it in each other. We don't tell each other. In any case, that's just how things are. And unfortunately, they are not liable to change. I don't find that things will change. I don't think I will have any such friend whom I can talk to, very secretly and privately. This is why I've started the diary. Now, this whole thing, okay, it explains to you this one thing: I don't have a friend. And that is the whole, these two paragraphs are telling you that why she's saying that, why did she actually start writing a diary. So this is all about it. So if you have a 2 or a 3 marks question based on the same, please make sure you actually write down all these points and make it a complete answer. So now you got the reason why she started the diary. To enhance the image of this long-awaited friend in my imagination. Enhance is to increase or improve the quality of something. So to enhance that, to improve that, the image of this long-awaited, this friend whom I waited for long in my imagination, I don't want to jot down the facts in this diary the way most people would do. But I want the diary to be my friend. I don't want to sit and write about all that, like the friend which I am waiting for, right? I want the diary to be my friend, and I'm going to call this friend Kitty. This lesson, we have done in 8th and 9th as well, and I'm sure you must be recalling the same. She actually told that the diary is her true friend because she could confide in that, and she also named the diary Kitty. Since no one would understand a word of my stories to Kitty, if I were to plunge right in, I'd better provide a brief sketch of my life, much as I dislike doing so. This is, see, people might not directly understand whatever the stories I am telling to Kitty, as in the diary. Now, the diary is Kitty, Kitty is diary. Please remember that. Yeah. So, if I were to plunge right in, if I would directly start writing those stories, nobody would understand. So, I'd better provide a brief sketch of my life. I'll just tell you the, a small, the journey of my life, much as I dislike doing so. In fact, I don't like doing that. But yes, otherwise you will never understand the relation that Kitty and I share. So, let me tell you. My father, the most adorable father I've ever seen, most loving, most caring father, didn't marry my mother until he was 36 and she was 25. So her father married at the age of 36 and the mother was 25. My sister Margot was born in Frankfurt in Germany in 1926 and I was born on the 12th of June 1929. I lived in Frankfurt until I was 4. So till she was 4 years old, she was there in Frankfurt. My father emigrated to Holland in 1933. Emigrated as in you leave one's own country to settle in another country. So they moved from there. Now, my mother, Edith Hollander Frank, went with him to Holland in September, while Margot and I were sent to Aachen to stay with our grandmother. Now, initially, both the sisters were not taken. They were going to stay with the grandma in Aachen while the parents shifted. Yeah, they went to Holland. Now, Margot went to Holland in December. She went in December and I followed in February. So after 2 months, she also went, Anne Frank. When I was plunked down on the table as a birthday present for Margot. I was plunked down as in it's an informal word. It is put down in a very casual way. Like, like a birthday present, I was put on the table in a very sort of casual manner. It had happened. So that was all about how they all were, the sisters were born and then they shifted their journey. So remember she's talking about the sketch of her life. I started right away at the Montessori nursery school. I stayed there until I was 6, at which time I started in the first form. Now there she started when, she started the Montessori nursery school and she stayed there until she was 6. And after that, she started in the first form. Now first form, like how we have grade 1, grade 2, so they have the first form. In the 6th form, my teacher was Mrs. Cuperis. Now she passed all her forms. She started from the first form, she reached the 6th form and she remembered her teacher's name was Mrs. Cuperis. The headmistress. At the end of the year, we were both in tears as we said a heartbreaking farewell. Sometimes it so happens you get so attached to your teachers. It must be the case with you as well. There are teachers who, you start realizing this more after 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. You get attached to certain teachers. You somehow are, more than friends with certain teacher. Of course, there is a slight line between a student and a teacher, but still, teachers are way friendlier and, they can actually be your troubleshooters. So, yeah. So, she remembered Mrs. Cuperis and she says it was very difficult to part. We both cried because we really cared and loved each other. In the summer of 1941, Grandma fell ill and had to have an operation. So my birthday passed with little celebration. She did not have much of the celebration because Grandma was ill and she had to be operated. So that festive mood was not there. Nobody was in that right mood to actually celebrate her birthday. Grandma died in January 1942. Okay, she was sick from the summer months onwards and then in 1942 Jan she passed away. No one knows how often I think of her and still love her. Remember in the beginning she was there with her grandma. So that bond was very strong. So after she passed away, she missed her a lot. This birthday celebration in 1942 was intended to make up for the other and Grandma's candle was lit along with the rest. Says now 1941 also they could not celebrate her birthday very well. So 1942 they had a good celebration and of course Grandma's candle was lit because in the loving memory of the grandma, even her candle was lit along with the rest. The 4 of us are still doing well. And that brings me to the present date of 20th June 1942 and the solemn dedication, solemn as in a serious or depicting deep sincerity, dedication of my diary. Now it is the 20th of June and here she says, as looking at the background, that everything is going fine, everything is well, and this is what she writes on the 20th of June. Dearest Kitty, her beloved friend, our entire class is quaking in its boots. Quaking as in it is shaking with fear and nervousness. It's a good line, good phrase to actually use. So please keep it in mind. Quaking in its boots. The reason, of course, is the forthcoming meeting in which the teachers decide who'll move up to the next form and who'll be kept back. So you guys are out of this system where the CBSE has said no one is, allowed to stay back. Everyone has to be pushed forward. But yes, in those days, they had to decide who can actually move further and who has to repeat the year. So, going to the next form as in the next grade. Half the class is making bets. Now they don't know, it's not a very open. Now then there was nothing digital like we have these days. So everyone was making bets. Oh, you'll go. Oh, I'm sure you'll go. I'm sure I'm going to fail and stuff. GN and I laugh ourselves silly, that's her friend, at the two boys behind us, CN and Jacker. Now, Jacker is a French name. If you say Jack, it's J-A-C-K, but Jacker is a very common French name, the first name, who have staked their entire holiday savings on their bet. Now, these two boys, CN and Jack, have actually kept up their, they've put their entire holiday savings, they've put that on a bet that if you fail, I know you're going to fail, but if not, this is the money. So, that bet that they put, they've literally put up that, and GN and I, as in Anne Frank's friend, GN and she, they were literally laughing at the silly boys. Like, how can you do that? You're putting up your money on that, you're betting on that. From morning to night, it's, you are going to pass, no I'm not, yes you are, no I'm not. Even G's pleading glances and my angry outbursts can't calm them down. Whole day these guys were doing the same. And here G actually pleading glances and please stop it, just stop it, she requested them. Whereas Anne Frank actually, she scolded them to keep quiet, but still nothing could calm them down. Whole day the same thing was going on. If you ask me, there are so many dummies that about a quarter of the class should be kept back. She says, according to me, if you ask me, I know there are many dumb heads here. Many of them who should be kept back. But teachers are the most unpredictable creatures on earth. Do I agree with this? I am a teacher. Unpredictable? I don't know from which angle does she say that, but that's not the case. I'm not so worried about my girlfriends and myself. She says, I'm not worried. I know my friends and I, we are definitely going to make it. We'll make it. The only subject I'm not sure about is maths. She says, now there's one thorn in my rose. I'm okay with everything, but maths, I'm a little afraid. Anyway, all we can do is wait. She says, okay, now whatever, we have to wait and watch. Until then, we keep telling each other not to lose heart. I get along pretty well with all my teachers. I'm absolutely okay. There are 9 of them, 7 men and 2 women. Mr. Keesing, the old fogey. Who's the fogey? He's an old-fashioned person who teaches maths. He was annoyed with me for ages. He was angry with me for what? Because I talked so much. Chatterbox. After several warnings, he tried to tell her quite a few times to keep quiet. He assigned me extra homework, an essay on the subject, a chatterbox. Now, because she went on talking non-stop in spite of all the warnings, he asked her to keep quiet, but she never obeyed. And so he gave her extra homework. He told her, okay, fine. Now, what you do is write an essay on a chatterbox. A chatterbox? What can you write about that? I'd worry about that later. She says, okay, fine. Now, I don't know what we are going to write, but okay, I'll do it. I decided. I jotted down the title in my notebook. I wrote it down that, okay, I have to do it. Tucked it in my bag and tried to keep quiet. She says, okay, I did that. I wrote it and I tried to keep quiet. That evening, after I'd finished the rest of my homework, the note about the essay caught my eye. That evening, she did everything. She finished all her other homework and suddenly she realized, oh, I have to do this extra homework. I have to write that essay. That note she had written, the title, suddenly it caught her eye. Oh, yes, I'm supposed to do this. That's the benefit of writing down your to-do list. Yes, you are supposed to maintain a to-do list every day, either before sleeping in the night or as soon as you wake up. What is my agenda of the day? What all am I supposed to do today? Please maintain a to-do list so that you don't forget things. And this actually helped her as well. I began thinking about the subject while chewing the tip of my fountain pen. She says, now I was thinking deeply, yaar, what to do? What can you write on a chatterbox? Anyone could ramble on and leave big spaces between the words, but the trick was to come up with convincing arguments to prove the necessity of talking. She says, you know what? Somebody who had to just do it for the heck of it might have done it. They would have left so much space and written like an essay. You generally do that, don't you? Most of you, I have seen while correcting papers. So yes, so she said that, somebody could have done that. They would have left a lot of space between words and sort of written a small thing and made it look big. But what I wanted to do, I wanted to give convincing arguments, as in statements made in such a manner that people believe it. I wanted to do that. I wanted to make sure that I tell him that why is it necessary to talk. The convincing arguments to prove the necessity of talking. I wanted to give him that. Understand why I am talking. Not just, faking and putting anything in that thing. So anyone could have just rambled on, as in you talk or write aimlessly for long. They would have just written aimlessly, but I didn't want to do that. I actually wanted to write something and tell him. I thought and suddenly I had an idea. I wrote the 3 pages Mr. Keesing had assigned me and was satisfied. She actually wrote 3 pages on it and he was satisfied with it. I argued that talking is a student's trait as in a quality. It is a student's trait and that I would do my best to keep it under control. Do it, but everything in a limit is fine. When you cross the limit, see, if I talk of playing, if I talk of eating, now see, when you eat, your eating in a limit is fine. But what do you do when you cross, when you're full till here and still you are eating? You eventually fall sick. Anyone, see, you keep working all day long, studying all day long. What happens towards the end? Your eyes start hurting, you have a headache. Anything you do in a limit is fine. You keep playing the whole day long. Okay, let's talk about your mobiles. The hottest thing I can talk about, as in, the current one that's going on is mobiles. Now, all the time you are glued to your mobile. What happens? Your shoulders, when you're looking in your mobile, now there is a way to even hold the mobile. That's how we have read in messages. But what we generally do is our mobile is here. So, your shoulder blades are also hurt. Your neck starts hurting. Your eyes, most importantly, they start hurting. So, anything in a limit, if you take a break, okay, for half an hour you sat, for 1 hour you sat, done. You're on your laptop. Anything in a limit is fine. The moment you cross that limit, then you're in trouble. You are actually calling for trouble. So this is what she did. She kept it under control. She said, okay, I'll do that. But that I would never be able to cure myself of the habit since my mother talked as much as I did, if not more. Well, she says, now this is, what a hereditary problem. My mom is equally talkative. So you see, it comes in the genes. It passes from generation to generation and I am full of it. So I'll try my level best to keep quiet, but it's something which I cannot control. And that there's not much you can do about inherited traits. Inherited traits are the qualities, physical or mental, that one gets from one's parents. So the mother was talkative and so is she. Mr. Keesing had a good laugh at my arguments. He was laughing while he was reading her essay. But when I proceeded to talk my way through the next lesson, again, the next lesson when it was there, again I was caught talking. He assigned me a second essay. This time it was supposed to be on an incorrigible chatterbox. What is an incorrigible? Something that cannot be corrected. Generally a bad quality, and this was her problem. She had that bad quality of talking all the time. So this time he told her to write on an incorrigible chatterbox. I handed it in and Mr. Keesing had nothing to complain about for 2 whole lessons. She says, I even did that. Then for the next 2 whole lessons, he did not point out to me. He did not tell me anything. And so everything was at peace. However, during the 3rd lessons, now 2 lessons went peacefully, came the 3rd lesson. He'd finally had enough. Now he patiently took me for 2 lessons. He did not utter a word though I was talking. He did not tell me anything, but for the 3rd lesson, again he lost his patience. He took enough of my chatterbox. Anne Frank, as punishment for talking in class, write an essay entitled Quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. Now, again, another version of the chatterbox. He says your title of that essay has to be Quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. She was like, oh God. The class roared. They all laughed out loudly. Now, what can you write on such a topic? Can you even think about it? And remember, she has already written 2 essays before that. I had to laugh too. Even I burst out laughing. Though I'd nearly exhausted my ingenuity on the topic of chatterboxes. She says, even I, laughed it out. I mean, I had literally finished my ingenuity as in the originality and the inventiveness. She had written 2 long essays before this. So all her concepts, all her ideas of a chatterbox had gone in that. Now from where she will get? Those were original, ingenuity, originality and inventiveness. It was time to come up with something else, something original. Now those days Google Baba was not there for her. She was not blessed with that. So she had to use her brain. These days, our brain, more than our brain, we use Google Baba's brain. Yes, all ready-made. But she had to write. Those days it was different. My friend San, who's good at poetry. Now she was good at poetry. She offered to help me write the essay from the beginning to end in verse. In verse as in arranged with a metrical rhythm, typically having a rhyme. Now she was good at writing poetry. So she made her write paragraphs that were typically having a rhyme. She made her do that. And how? And I jumped for joy. Her friend Sand actually helped her out with this topic where Anne Frank lost hope. She didn't know what to write. Mr. Keesing was trying to play a joke on me with this ridiculous subject, but I'd make sure the joke was on him. She said, you know what? Mr. Keesing thinks he's playing a joke on me. He gave me this ridiculous, this funny little, stupid little topic to write an essay on. He thinks he's joking on me, but I am going to make sure that the joke goes back to him. It's on him. I finished my poem and it was beautiful. Now, obviously, it must be something really great. What a topic to write on, and that too in a rhyming pattern as a poem. It was about a mother duck and a father swan with 3 baby ducklings who were bitten to death by the father because they quacked too much. Oh my God. Now, it's just a poem. But just imagine, the father literally bit his own ducklings, 3 baby ducklings, to death. Why? Because they quacked too much. Now, what does this poem tell you? It's talking, the ducklings is like Anne Frank and the father is the Sir, Mr. Keesing. Luckily, now this was a satire. It was a very hidden joke. It was humor, but in a very sarcastic manner. Luckily, Mr. Keesing took the joke the right way. He did not get offended. He did not say, oh, you've written about me. He took it in the right way. He read the poem to the class, adding his own comments. He read it, he added his own comments and to several other classes as well. Not only to this class, to Anne Frank's class, but he read this poem in every other class he went. Since then, I've been allowed to talk. Maybe Mr. Keesing got the message from there. He got a lesson from there and he said, oh, I better not. So, she has been allowed to talk and haven't been assigned any extra homework. She already did 3 of them, and imagine, literally on the same topic. So thereafter, she was not given that extra homework. On the contrary, in fact, opposite to that, Mr. Key Singh's always making jokes these days. In fact, that thing has helped Key Singh to start making jokes these days in the class. Otherwise, he was so serious, he wouldn't even let us talk. Today, it's the other way around. He is cracking jokes in the class and we are enjoying it. So this is what she shares, as an adolescent, all about, her adolescence phase, what she went through and what she faced. She's put it in her diary and we enjoyed going through her diary, her experiences. In the long run, she says, in the long run, the sharpest weapon of all is a kind and gentle spirit, written by her. She says, the sharpest weapon, in the long run, if you are gentle, if you are a gentle spirited person, if you are kind, if you are compassionate. Now, she was really kind, right? So she made it really happen. She was going smoothly in the long run. She did not have any kind of issues. Of course, she did face them, but then because she had a kind heart, everything went on sorting. See, every time you cannot argue, you cannot discuss, you cannot fight. Sometimes some things have to be dealt with a lot of love, with a lot of care, and these things do work. Eventually, they do work. So yeah, keep trying that. When you come across any issues, just like Anne Frank, use that kind heart of yours, use that gentle spirit of yours and make things happen in a very smooth manner instead of fighting and arguing and discussing and, causing harm to each other. Don't do that. Use the language of love always. Yes, just like we do it always. Keep watching and keep learning.